Hello, everyone. How's it going? This is Game Face Killa, and I'm here with another episode of Rollin' Solo Digital. Uh, I am an avid player of board games, and I love digital board games as well. I have a show that I'm a part of on Saturday nights where we play some board games every week. And then I did notice that there was a lot of digital adapted board games that are um, sorely lacking. Well, not lacking in um, hey Joe, how's it going? Frosthaven, it is going to be happening some Frosthaven hype tonight. I'm really excited because we're going to be. I do love board game adaptations, and I do love Tabletop Simulator. I played a lot. I've never played it on this solo version of my stream here, but I am going to be checking it out tonight. I am going to be doing a Gloomhaven digital version run through as soon as I unlock 4 characters. I'm getting close. I think I'm probably about halfway there. But the second boss is very difficult. So I beat him, or I played him once and did so badly that I wasn't sure I was ever going to beat him. And then I played him again a second time and I got closer. So I think I just need to gain a few levels. Anyway, I'm doing that off screen because I don't want to overload the stream with Gloomhaven. I definitely want to try it out with a full complement of 4 players so you can see all the great combos and everything that goes on in this game. I'm a huge Gloomhaven fan. I love Gloomhaven. It's probably my favorite board game. I played it more than any other. I've got physical versions of the base set. I've got Forgotten Circles. I've even gotten the stickers and the organizers and everything that go with it. But in general, huge fan. I'm in the middle of a campaign right now. I've never finished one, but I don't think anybody has. I don't believe anyone has, even if they tell me they have. No, I am sure there are people who play a lot more or able to play it a lot more regularly that have beaten it. I'd say my biggest campaign, or the campaign that's the farthest right now, is maybe like halfway through. But I'm a huge fan. And I think Tom Vassell recently pointed out that why would I want new content? Of course, I want new content, already. So I'm excited. I have been playing the Diviner class, Forgotten Circles. I love the complexity and the cool combos that are getting continue to be built up. And now we've got a whole new, not just one expansion, but 2 expansions coming out that are going to add a whole new slew of characters that you can play right off the bat, starting a brand new Gloomhaven campaign or Frosthaven campaign, because one of the expansions coming out is Frosthaven, which is a brand new story campaign, 6 starting classes. That's true. I do only, Lard, I do only want to stream victories. So the digital game is definitely kicking my butt in terms of fighting bosses. Although I do think I'm kind of trying to rush through instead of exploring and leveling up a little bit. So it's pretty tough. Exactly, the second boss just mutilates me. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be taking a look. Isaac Childres did something really cool for the Frosthaven um, Kickstarter, which is still going on. If you haven't bought your version of Frosthaven, it may be the only way you can see it for the foreseeable future is by buying it via Kickstarter, because it'll be in short supply, I'm sure, for a while once it sells. But it's up to like $7 million, which is amazing. I already got my copy day one, by the way, but it was pretty exciting. I was not on the train for the first one. It took me a while to even get that first copy, but once I did, I was hooked, and I got this day one of the Kickstarter. And as a part of the celebration, instead of kind of, I think Tabletop Simulator has a little bit of controversy with it. A lot of developers may have like a love hate relationship. They feel like maybe some of them, yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, the controversy of the Kickstarter is that obviously the argument would be that he doesn't have to go through a publication. He can kind of do what he wants and be able to distribute it himself and make a lot of the choices. Whereas you kind of have to work with a publisher and might have to make a lot of sacrifices of content and what's available in the game. So I think that's why he does it, mostly just to kind of cut out the middleman kind of thing. Um, so I can totally understand that. It makes sense. So the idea is that this new Frosthaven is coming out. It's a whole brand new, full 100, I'm sure 90 some scenarios. Some of them are being designed by guest designers that are really popular or famous. It's really cool. And to go with that, he's even brought out um, a demo of it on Tabletop Simulator. So I know sometimes the Tabletop Simulator is kind of a love-hate relationship with designers. I can understand that. I always, and on all of our shows, we always play games that we do own physically, but we can't play because not all of us live in the same area. So we play remotely, just like everyone is kind of forced to do right now, right? And what's amazing about this Frosthaven demo is not only is it beautiful, and one of the reasons why it's beautiful is I have to give a shout out to one of my favorite tabletop simulator designers or mod designers, Gabriel M. and Kijan, who designed Fantasy Gloomhaven, which is the Gloomhaven mod that I use all the time. It's the best one. There's no better out there. And so I kind of noticed some similarities when I first jumped in here. I was like, "Hey, this looks just like Gabriel M's," and I went back and looked at the workshop page in Steam and realized, oh, it is. It's they were working in conjunction together. There's a lot of great things that he has that are in here. There's a lot of cool things that are added. You can even see a cool map mock-up of the map that's going to be present in Gloomhaven. It's very different from the original map. It's got a lot more detail. It was designed by I can't think of her name, but a very famous like she does a lot of fiction book maps, and so they hired her. She's an amazing artist, and you can see here there's not only an overland map now that'll have locations that you'll put stickers on, I'm sure, just like the old one, but now there's a city that you're going to be building as well, which is pretty amazing. And you can kind of custom make your city, and that's going to determine what kind of classes are available, what kind of upgrades are available, all kinds of really cool things like that. Um, and so that's going to be something worth enjoying. We're not going to quite take a look at any of that stuff or the new resources or anything like that tonight. We're going to be mostly looking at, of course, the best thing about this demo, which is the 6 starting classes that come with Frosthaven. They're giving us a preview look at them. Of course, they are subject to change, but one of the amazing things is we get to see all these classes and what they look like and what they do. You can play around with them. You could play the original Gloomhaven, or what's amazing about Frosthaven is it's already packed with a huge amount of content. There's a new community-driven campaign. So when Gloomhaven was first released on Kickstarter, the first Gloomhaven, there was a community campaign where Isaac would create a scenario, and then the community would play it and vote on what would happen next. And this it ended up turning into like 10 scenarios in the end, and every scenario had this kind of crazy, wacky construction to it, and kind of threw the rules out of the rule book, and you kind of had to learn different strategies to beat it. But it was really great in rewarding, and we did play that on our table flip and board games. We played those 10 scenarios for that first Gloomhaven campaign. They already have the first 3 scenarios for the new Frosthaven community campaign. The first 3 scenarios are already live, and you can load those up. In addition to that, they have 3 Frosthaven scenarios that are already available to test out, that I think they're demoing in different places, and you can play those demos right here on Tabletop Simulator. And they do. I don't know how much of the campaign is included. I'm imagining not too much. I think the map is here just to kind of take a look at and drool over. Um, but I think campaign scenarios from Frosthaven are available, 3 of them to demo and check out and see what it's going to be like. So this brings me to the last bit of content that's available. So along with the Kickstarter, uh, Isaac's been releasing Kickstarter updates almost every day. I think almost every day, and with those, he has put cool little puzzles. So he sort of this reminds me of the collectible card game magazines that used to set up Magic, the Gathering scenarios that they would just give you a frozen page, a frozen image, and they would say, "Hey, this is what cards you have in your hand. This is what you've played. This is what your enemy has played. Now try to knock them out in 2 turns," or something like that. So this is very similar to that. They give you a puzzle situation with a character, and the other cool thing about these different puzzles is they highlight and show off the characters that are the new characters that are available, so you can learn some of the tactics and some of their really cool combos that they can kick off if you can figure out the puzzle. And so I've been, of course, so busy with work, but I thought, hey, I could totally take advantage of this by playing these puzzles I've been wanting to play by on the stream, and check them out and see if I can solve them. I will say that I was a little bit of a chicken shit, and I went ahead and I did not look up the solution videos for any of them. He does have solution videos. Each letter contains a solution video from the previous puzzle, each new letter. I am refusing to look at those until I solve the puzzle myself. But I did, the shit thing I did was I did look at the puzzle ahead of time and try to start figuring it out. Um, so that I wouldn't look like a chump and get on here and then spend an hour trying to figure the puzzle out. I am thinking about doing this for the puzzles, and I won't necessarily look at them ahead of time after this time. I may try to have one of those moments where I'm on camera struggling with it and never figuring it out. Um, but we'll see. We'll do that next time, not this time, because I wanted to make sure that I wouldn't be a chump. I mean, come on, for the first puzzle, if I came on here and I couldn't figure out, it'd be really embarrassing. But this is what's cool about the scenario. So when you first come in, it might be confusing. You can see that the character boxes are here, much like the regular Gloomhaven expansion. You can pull them out and check them out. They come in little envelopes, and then you can pull out the cards, and then eventually you'll get the character sheets and things like that. But I'm not going to look at those today because I'm sure there's plenty of much better character previews than what I'm going to have in here. We're going to just look at one character at a time as I'm solving each of the puzzles. Now, puzzle number one is with the Banner Sphere character. So we're going to take a look at her to start off with. Um, but what you might do is you can see that there's something in this box too. You can pull things out. But instead of doing that, it's so much simpler. You just go up to the game setup, and then once you click sync scenarios, this lets you know what all of the scenarios are that are available. So this is where I was talking about how there's scenario 116 and 25. These are the Frosthaven demo scenarios. There's the Blacksmith and the Bear, which is the new community driven campaign, and the first three scenarios of those. And then, of course, now we have the riddles. There's up to 15 now. I'm way behind, but I'm going to try to catch up. I may try to do two in one show as if I can figure out more than one at a time. But we'll see how if we can get caught up. I'm not sure how long these riddles are going to go on, but they are very fun to try to figure out. So all you do is pick a scenario, and it automatically sets everything up for you. It's just beautiful. Then you just close the game setup by clicking the button in the top right, and now you have a normal game setup with your character and your hand of cards, your modifier deck. I don't know why I couldn't think of the word for that. For this puzzle, we have a stone golem and the monster setup here. I won't be using this elemental infusion board. As a matter of fact, I think I'm just going to pull the Banner Spear character sheet up. I don't need my modifier deck. You'll see why in just a little bit. And you'll notice I only have 4 cards available. Now, the Banner Spear does have 10 cards available, starting cards, and then, of course, I'm sure there's going to be X cards also, so you don't necessarily have to play with the 10 starting cards, level 1 cards. You can play with the X cards substituted if you want. I always like to play with the starting cards just to check them out. As you can see, the Banner Spear looks awesome. You can see she has a ton of spears. She's also, as we'll see when we read about her, you'll see that she's just a part of a big crew of banner knights that all fight together. And so let's take a look at her just to kind of read the backstory to start off with. A little bit of a preview here. Humans are a resilient race. Ever met with tragedy and war, humans have persevered throughout the ages to become the most prolific civilization, reaching across the continent in search of new conquests. They may have overestimated their ability to survive with Frosthaven, however. Conquering the North is much more difficult and deadly. There are forces here, both known and unknown, that are best left undisturbed, but such things have not stopped humans in the past. At the head of this thrust into the frozen unknown are the Banner Spears, tireless warriors forever in search of glory and honor at the behest of the capital city of White Oak. Frosthaven has no need of pride, though. Cut off from the order they hold dear, and faced with the harsh realities of the North, the Banner Spears are forced to reevaluate what truly matters. Will they give up everything to protect the outpost, or will they flee from the chaos and destruction? The face of chaos and destruction. So this is the Banner Spear. That's who we're going to be playing with for this first puzzle. Hopefully, obviously, spoiler alert, we will be talking about these new characters that come with the Frosthaven game. But these are starting characters, so there's definitely no heavy spoilers at all. These are what many people are already previewing and demoing and showing off, and this is what you get to play with if you play a demo. These are just the starting characters, so no big spoiler alerts. And then in addition, the golem that I'm facing is not even a new character. This character was in the original Gloomhaven set, so no big deal with that either in terms of spoilers. And you'll see I've got already everything set up here on the map with the stone golem and the banner spear together. I've got my 4 cards in hand because in this puzzle I'm at a starting point that's later in the game, and I've lost all but 4 of my cards, so I only have these 4 to work with. And those are some of the rules of the puzzle. Yeah, the spear is really awesome. Yeah, it's a cool idea for a character to have. And then you can see on her back here she's got spare spears, javelins to throw, and a falcon. So just in case we got all that other stuff. And you're going to see some of the really cool things that this character can do in this puzzle alone. It's a really cool idea for combos. All right, so let's get into the puzzle. Basically, to explain what's going on with the puzzle, they always give a little bit of instructions and setup and rules that you got to follow. And so I'll read those really quickly before we go into the cards I have available and the cards that the enemy has available. And we'll just talk a little bit about the rules first and then get into some more of the details. So I have a starting health of 5, which is indicated here on my banner spear character token. It does say as part of the rules, if I'm short resting, which I may or may not have to do as part of the puzzle, but it says if you do short rest, you get to choose which card you lose. Now, that's not normally the case on a short rest. You have to draw randomly from your discard pile 1 card, and then if you want to exchange it, you can do that once by losing a hit point. But I don't have to worry about that this time, because if I short rest, which is probably what I might have to do to beat this in time, I get to choose the card. I have 4 cards, I get to choose one, and then I permanently lose it, and I get the remaining 3 back in my hand. So this is the starting map setup. I am facing an elite golem, which is pretty tough. One of the hardest, most durable types of enemies you might have to face. We are 2 spaces away, and when I first played this myself, I've just pulled the map tile out that matches this, and it's a much bigger tile. But I think in the original puzzle, at least what I'm seeing here now, is that you're only supposed to have 3 rows of hexes like this tile here. And so I had to go back and rethink the puzzle because I didn't have as much space as I wanted. It definitely changed things a little bit. The important things to remember about the golem is that this is an elite golem. He starts off with 11 hit points, but the other important thing that's kind of discouraging when you face him is that he has an automatic constant shield too. So every hit of damage that you do to him, or I should say every attack, no matter how much damage you do, it's always going to be reduced by 2, which really makes this puzzle difficult. I'd say that makes this puzzle the most difficult out of every other obstacle. That's the hardest one to get past that shield every time. Um, he moves 2 normally and attacks at a base of 4. The other thing that's important is that we're not going to draw modifier cards because we're just going to assume for the purpose of this puzzle that all modifiers are going to be +0. So I don't have any hit advantage and or disadvantage, and neither does the stone golem, which kind of sucks because I like those boosts to combat. Um, but I don't have them. I can't use them. So that's where we're starting. The other thing that sucks is I've already been damaged down to 5 hit points. I normally have 10 for starting level, but I'm down to just 5, which is tough because all he needs is a +1 on his attack card, and he will kill me. Well, he'll hit me and reduce my hit points down, and I'll need to lose a card. So that's what we're looking at here. This is the puzzle setup. Now here's what I have to do. Here's the actual instructions. I have to kill the stone golem in 3 rounds. So that's kind of sucks. So in other words, I'm only going to get to play 3 rounds of cards. He's only going to get to do 3 actions, and that's it. So I'll go ahead and preview right now. I even know, he's even helped me out a little bit on this puzzle. I even know what his 3 actions are going to be ahead of time. His first action, he's going to move 1 extra, so he'll move 3. He's going to attack me for 4, and then if he moved, although this card's a little bit different than the one that's on the puzzle card here. On the puzzle card, it actually says if he actually moves, then he suffers a damage. So we're going to go by that rule and not what's on this card here. So on the card, this is from the original Gloomhaven. He takes damage no matter what, but in the puzzle, he only takes damage if he moves. So I've got to make sure he moves. I need him to take all the damage that I can, because I got to do 11 damage to him to kill him in 3 rounds. And so I need everything I can get. So I need to let him move. Second round, he's going to move less. He's only going to move 1, but he is going to attack for +1. So that means in 1 hit, he could kill me with this card. And then the third round, he's going to pull out this Stone Golem card that lets him move at his base speed of 2 and then attack me for only 3. But the attack does hit all adjacent enemies. So if there's any other allies around, he'll hit them for 3. And then me as well, if he's around me. Okay, so that's it for the enemy. That's what we know he's doing. And he can easily, with this first card, close the distance between us and damage me. And he's got a really low initiative card here. So I've got to, if I want to go before him, or I could choose to go after him, I'm going to need to beat a 28. So here are my cards. And just a little bit about the banner spear that's really cool as well is the fact that he or she um, has some really cool abilities. And I got some of this information off of Gloomhaven shop. They kind of analyzed the cards in a little bit more detail than I was able to so far. It looks like the banner spears are have some really cool abilities. For example, one of the things they do is, instead of summoning creatures, they summon banners that can allow allies to heal themselves, can allow allies to um, do certain abilities, or even give the banner spear certain abilities. And so that's really cool. They kind of drop down um, auras or buffs or something like that. They can also serve as a tank, because one of the cards that they have gives them a permanent for the rest of the scenario. They don't lose it at the end of the round, they keep it forever. A permanent shield 1 for the whole game. So I know Joe is going to love that, because he loves tanking. Or he would love to have that with the brute anyway, I'm sure. It's a permanent +1 to shield. But one of the things you'll notice is, as we look at these cards, I'll pull one up here, or zoom one up. As you notice, there are lots of AoE attacks, or different style attacks than just regular melee attacks. And if you remember how these AoE attacks work, the gray hex is represented by the player that's playing the card. So the banner spear is who's in the gray hex. And then you'll notice that the enemies I can attack with this tip of the spear, for example, 2 red hexes, which means I can attack up to 2 enemies. And the attack is 3, and it does pierce 3, and it gives me an experience point. But what you may notice is that there's an additional color on there now. And what that means is that I now have to worry about an additional thing. Yep, Joe, you asked that. Good question right off the bat. So the green hex means that you have to have an ally in the other space that's represented by green to help you out with this attack. So it's almost like they're helping you push the spear in deeper past the armor with this tip of the spear, and then with combined effort, you're both side by side together, pushing the weapon into the enemy. Yeah, so it's very crazy. And with the combined effort, you can actually only hit one enemy, but it does 4 damage and it wounds them, which means they'll keep taking damage every round. But here's the trick: you have to be able to set these up, right? So you have to plan, either with your partners in crime that are delving in the dungeon with you, uh, or if maybe there was something else you could use to help you. And then here's where this help comes into play, especially because I'm only playing with this one character. There's a card called At All Costs, and on the bottom of it, it has a summon. It looks pretty normal. You might be thinking, hey, this is just a regular summon. And then as you look at the stats bar, you may start to wonder, why would I ever summon this summon? Well, if you notice, it only has 1 hit point, it does not attack, it doesn't have range, and it can only move 2, but you get to control the movement of the summon, and it is just called a reinforcement. It does give you 1 XP boost, and you'll notice that if you look down at the bottom, there's no loss symbol, which means that you get this card back every round, and you don't lose it like you do with other summons. Pretty much every other summon in Gloomhaven that I've seen so far, there may be some that haven't been unlocked, but in the main characters anyway, the main 6 characters, there is no summon that is not a lost card. So once that summon's dead, you lose that card permanently. But here you keep the card for the round, and then the reinforcement disappears. It's almost like they show up temporarily for help, and then they leave, just like Gandalf. So that may be something that I'll have to keep in mind, because I just realized that it only lasts till the end of the round. Oh no, it's infinite, right? Isn't that what that means? That's not the end of the round symbol. Bum, bum, bum. I'm going to have to go back and look that up. In the rule book, I think that's an infinite symbol, because I think the end of the round symbol has a different symbol. Yeah, it's end of round is a circle. So that is a permanent reinforcement that you get. Now, granted, they only have 1 hit point, but think about the implications of this. If you can summon a reinforcement and it's not a lost card, that's basically like an extra set of, I hate to say this, armor that you have for you and your team, that can kind of, you can push them in the way. You get to control their movement so they don't move like a normal AI. You can get them, and maybe even they can't open doors, but you could have them in the doorway, right? Taking hits for you. And that may or may not be something that's important to think about with this puzzle today. And then, yeah, so that's what I was thinking too, is that it's an infinite in play until it dies, right? Or you can by choice just remove a card, and it makes the reinforcement disappear. So you can call them away. At all costs also allows you to heal 3 by affecting all allies. And that doesn't mean there's no range on it. So it looks like it doesn't. The only disadvantage is of course, the bottom text, which says you suffer 1 damage for each ally whose hit point value was increased. So basically, you you uh, you take damage for your allies to be able to heal damage. But the nice thing is, if they have full hit points, you don't take damage. Regroup is a simple heal with regenerate, which is really nice. I love that with the diviner. I pump that up. I put stickers on everything to add regenerate. I just think it's a great skill, especially as you are wiping up the last few enemies in a room. Regenerate's great to put on, because you don't have to keep healing people. It'll kind of help top them off, um, uh, and keep them, get them full for the next room. The bottom half of regroup is 2 allies within range 3 may perform a move 3. That's pretty cool. So instead of you moving, your allies can move. 2 allies. Then we got tip of the spear, which we talked about before. It's got an attack 3, pierce 3, as long as there's an ally behind you. And then the bottom half is a move 4. And then finally, we have combined effort. That's that card we looked at earlier also. So if I have an ally beside me and we're both adjacent to each other and an enemy, I can attack for wound and add a wound. It gives me an XP, and then I could use it for the bottom half to move 2, and then 2 allies within 2 range may move 2 also. So I'm really good at moving other people around to get into good positions. So that's one of the things that's awesome, is you do have to work together to get your allies in the right place, but you also have cards that help you to do that without costing your allies anything, right? So that's pretty cool. It does, Joe, I do agree. It does make the class hard, and you can't do the ability if the ally is not there. But you have a lot of bottom abilities that will help you also to move allies into place, and you have the summon reinforcement, so you could literally summon the ally. You'll notice it's always adjacent to you, so you could literally summon the ally right where you need them into that space, and then do the attack. So it's pretty cool. I think it works really well. But yeah, you're going to have to really talk with your teammates, or use your summon, have it in a good position to be able to do these big attacks. But once you have the right position, and I think it's got a little bit of a learning curve, but once you get past that, I think it'll work really well. Okay, so let's get started on this puzzle. It's going to be kind of crazy. So we know his first action is going to be to move forward, which he could easily do that, and attack and do damage. I need to make sure that I don't rush him, because I want him to move so that he will take damage. One thing that you might start noticing about this puzzle right off the bat is there are only 2 cards that do damage, unless I do the default attack, which is 2. But if you'll notice, he has 2 armor. So my default attack is not really going to be an option, because I'm not going to do any damage at all to him with the default attack. So that leaves me with my 2 attacks, my attack 4 and my attack 3. So you might be thinking, oh, just spam the attack 4 and you're good. However, because he has 2 armor, the attack 4 is really just an attack 2, and the attack 3, you'll notice, has a pierce 3, so it's really the more powerful of the 2 attacks. But here's something else. If you start considering the math, the first thing you might think is, okay, so you get 3 rounds. I'm just going to spam attacks, tip of the spear, and short rest every round to get it back. That would work, except for the fact that if you add up 3 rounds of damage with tip of the spear, if you cancel the armor with your pierce, you're only doing 9 damage. Okay, you say, but then the 10th damage is going to come from when he moves in the first round. That's true, but that's still only 10, and he has 11 hit points. So guess what? The math doesn't work, and you realize really quickly when you're looking at this puzzle, obviously it's not going to be as easy as it seems. You're not going to be able to use tip of the spear 3 times. You're going to have to figure out a way to do more damage than normal. So the only other option is, if you look at the cards really carefully, you know, and you've played this game, you know that the wound does extra damage on top of the damage that you do. But the trick is that you have to do it quickly. You have to do it early, because if you only have 3 rounds, you want to ideally do it round 1 before they go, because then every time they go, they're going to take a wound. So if I can do that early, I could conceivably do 3 damage just from that. The only problem is I've got to make sure that I set up my ally, which means if I set up my reinforcement, that's my only option for setting up my ally. If I set up my reinforcement, I then can't move, right? Because I use the bottom half of the card to summon a reinforcement. I can't move, so that means I need to let him come to me, which sucks. And I do need him to move anyway to do the first damage. So this is where the puzzle starts, right? Like, I know that I'm going to have to do a wound, and I want to do it early, so I'm probably going to play this card for sure. Now I can play this card, and then I also know I need to get my reinforcement in place in order to be able to do combined efforts, wound, and damage, because I really need to do damage if I can, even though it's only going to be 2 damage. Now, if I play the cards like this in this order, I'm going to go before him, but you'll notice if I summon my reinforcement, I'm going to grab a reinforcement. If I grab a reinforcement and play it, like let's say I need to play it here because I know he's going to move here, then guess what? I can do that, but then my attack is going to go off and he's not there yet. So the smarter thing to do is I know I'm going to need to go after him, which sucks because my summon's not going to be out yet. But at least I'm going to get it out, and at least it's going to kick off, and I'm going to do the 2 damage. I'm going to get the wound on him. He's not going to take a wound the first round, but he will take it the other 2 rounds. And so I think I'm still possibly going to do enough damage. Now, I'm only doing 2 damage instead of the 3 with tip of the spear, but one of the wounds he'll take on round 2 will make up for that. And then I'm going to get my missing HP of damage, my missing wound of damage from the 3rd round. But let's see if we can continue to do this. So I'm going to play the cards in this order so that I go after the Stone Golem. So Stone Golem's going to go first. He's going to move, and he has a move of 2, but it's +1, so he could move 3, but he doesn't need to. And then he attacks me. And remember, all of the modifier cards are for this puzzle need to be at +0. So he technically is only going to do his normal amount of damage, which sucks because it's 4. So I'm almost dead already. But at the bottom of his card, he's going to take 1 damage. So he's already down to 10. I'm already got this. I've got this going, right? So I know right off the bat, I've got alarm bells going off because I need to make sure that I am nowhere near this second attack. It's going to do a ton of damage. Okay, so his turn is over. My turn starts. I've got to get my summon reinforcement in first. So I do that bottom half of that first. That goes to my... No, it stays in play. It's active. And then I do the top of this card, combined effort. Attack 4 with a modifier of 0, but subtracting his 2 shield is attack 2. So 2 damage, and then it puts a wound on him, which is awesome. We love wounds because that's extra damage I don't even have to worry about anymore. Okay, so this card is out for keepsies for right now. I discard this card. It goes to my discard pile. I've got my summon out. Just so I make sure I know which summon this is. So I've got my summon in my discard pile. And now we're starting round 2. I'm going to put this active card over here just to have it out of the way. So I only have 2 cards to play right now unless I want to discard my reinforcement and get rid of him. I could do a short rest right now. Um, but I don't think I do, because what I like now is that, first off, these 2 Stone Golem cards are going to go after me. The initiative is so high that it doesn't matter which cards I play in which order, I'm going to get to go first. And I definitely have my tip of the spear ready now. I want to make sure this goes off. You remember my reinforcement also has a movement of 2, so I can move him around to help me if I need it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to short rest this turn. What I'm going to do is, it doesn't really matter what order I play the cards, but I'm going to play the lowest one first, and I'm going to play these 2. So now I'm going first this second round. This is the top of the second of 3 rounds I have to kill this guy. So I'm going to start my turn by doing the tip of the. No, sorry, not the tip of the spear. I have to start my turn by having the summon take his turn, right? We always know summons go first. So I'm going to have him, he moves 2 spaces on his turn, and that's basically all he does is move around. So I'm going to have him get behind me, which is where I need him to be for tip of the spear. And then I'm going to do tip of the spear. Oh, and then it's my turn. Sorry. So I'm going to do tip of the spear first, now that summon's turn is done. The ally is behind me. The enemy is in front of me, and I'm in the gray, so I've met the requirements. I'm doing 3 damage, pierce 3, so I ignore his 2 shield and do 3 damage. Okay, so here's the point where I got stuck, because when I originally did this puzzle, I thought I had lots of spaces to move around. And so what I did is I kind of retreated up here, and then because I was equidistance, because the stone golem is equidistance between me and the summon. No, actually, he's closer. I tried to move to where he was closer, but I could technically move here, right? And what would happen is on the golem's turn, he's going to get to move 1 space, which will be here, and then he will attack the summon, because remember, if there's a tie between an initiative between you and the summon, which there technically is, the summon technically has a lower initiative, so he's going to attack the summon and kill him and not do any damage to me, which is great, right? But here's the problem: because there's no space behind me now, I can't resummon the reinforcement to do tip of the spear again. I'm stuck. And he's here, so I would have to literally move all the way around him to do tip of the spear from the other direction, and I basically can't do it from diagonal down or diagonal up. So this is where I got stuck at first, but then I realized what I can do instead of moving myself. So I'm here again. I just did tip of the spear. Instead of moving myself, I'm going to regroup to have an ally move within range 3, perform move 3. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this guy move instead here. We're both equal distance, and like I said, when the golem takes his turn, he'll hit the reinforcement instead of me, because we're the same initiative, but he's a little bit faster. He goes before me. So the golem goes. He doesn't need to move. He attacks +1, which is an attack of 5, which would have nailed me. But he attacks my summon, and so the summon dies. This card goes to my discard pile, because it's not lost. I love that idea of a summon that's not lost. Oh, and I forgot to put my cards in the discard pile as well. So, and that's the end of the second round. So pretty crazy. Normally I would shuffle these cards together because there's a reshuffle symbol on there, but it just says that I'm getting this card next. So I know what the third round is going to be. It's going to be an attack of 3, which is still enough to kill me, and it's going to affect all adjacent enemies. So if I summon a reinforcement again, unfortunately, that's going to mean that he is going to hit him as well if he's adjacent to him. Also, I forgot to do a wound on him. So he's actually at 4 because he took a wound when he did his turn, second round. So I've got 4 damage left. So guess what? It doesn't really matter. I get to pick. I'm going to do a short rest. I get to pick which cards, and I definitely need these 2 cards because I'm playing them. So I'm just going to pick my heal, and then that way I get this back in my hand too. Just, If this were to go a fourth round, I might need it, but it's not. Okay, so here I'm back in the same position. I have an initiative of 10. I'm playing these 2 cards for this last round. I have an initiative of 10. He has 83, so I go first. I do the bottom half of at all costs to summon this reinforcement. So now he's in play, which meets the requirement for tip of the spear. I do an attack 3, pierce 3, which takes off 3 damage, ignores the shields, and then he gets to go. Now you might be saying to yourself, okay, well now the enemy is, I can't move, the enemy's not near me. But if you remember the rules of the game, the wound happens at the beginning of the enemy turn. So before he can do anything, he takes the last point of damage and is dead. And so that's that puzzle. I haven't looked up the YouTube video yet. I'll definitely have to make sure that I look it up and see if I was correct or if I missed something, but I think that's how it's supposed to work. He said before for some of the puzzles that there are multiple, uh, some that have multiple ways of winning that he's noticed after he's created them. But it's pretty cool because this definitely makes you stretch out. Now, obviously, I could have lasted maybe one more turn if I had summoned him up close again. I could just keep doing that, forever. Have him as tanking hits for me while I get up close and use him to do big hits. Um, but it's definitely a cool introduction to the Banner Spear class and what that character does. Very cool puzzle, very cool introduction to it. That's puzzle 1. Um, but you are welcome to. What's really cool about this is you can always get in here and load up any of the puzzles yourself and check them out. So before I head out, I know this is a shorter one tonight, but um, I think what is cool about this is that it's just kind of an introduction. What's nice is if you wanted to clean everything up at the end, you can just click the recall button on this little bag that shows up, and now mostly everything. I think it's because I moved stuff. I moved these enemy cards and I moved the summons, and so everything everything got messed up. All right, and then of course you can just delete the bag because everything's infinite, and you got a clean table again. Let's just take a look really quickly at a preview for next week. We're going to be taking a look at some of these puzzles here. I'm not sure if I'll do all 14 in a row because I'm sure I'll be getting close to getting back to the digital Gloomhaven adventures. Next, we're going to be taking a look at the Deathwalker. Already love the card. Already love the sound of that, especially if it's a necromancer, summon skeletons or summon any kind of creatures kind of thing. Looks like we've got a lot of these little will-o'-the-wisps. It has some in a jar, maybe. I don't know anything about this character. The Banner Spear I did know a little bit about. Looks like there's some living spirits and a living doom, which might be a new type of monster. Um, and we got a different setup here that's on these new map tiles are amazing. They're definitely a lot more vivid in terms of the art, a lot more detail, a lot more color that's jumping out. So I think that'll add a lot of really cool element of playability to it. And we'll take a look at that puzzle starting next round. All the puzzles I've noticed when I look at them, they have different requirements. Some have you kill, some have you try to survive, and so there's lots of cool things that are going on as far as the puzzles go. So we'll take a look at that next week. I should be able to work some this week on the Gloomhaven campaign. Or my digital Gloomhaven campaign to try to get my levels up there so I can finally face that second boss, the cultist, and knock him out. Very tough fight though. Not because of the cultist. The cultist is actually pretty easy for the most part, but he does summon some crazy summons, and then there's another. I think it's the night demons, if I remember right, that are also in that scenario, and they slaughter you. They're very destructive. So we'll be taking a look at that very soon. I'll be taking a look at more puzzles next week. We might, if I get the first puzzle done, and I'll try not to look at it ahead of time, um, at least as much as I can. We'll take a look at the next puzzle next time, and if we get done early enough, then maybe we can take a look at a third puzzle. Try to knock out more of these than just one per week. But that's pretty much what's going on with the stream this week. We've also got a continuing campaign on Saturday. If you tune in, we're getting ready to. We kind of started the first scenario. Not much has happened. We're escaping Yavin 4. We're playing Star Wars Imperial Assault. We're escaping Yavin 4. We're getting hit by a lot of Imperials. Trying to escape this planet, but I think the point is you realize the power of the Empire has not been destroyed completely with the destruction of the Death Star after Episode 4. So we are definitely facing a lot of tough enemies as we try to just survive enough rounds to get all the transports off the ground. But very cool start. If you are interested, tune in this Saturday. We are at 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Table Flipping Games on DeFebruar's channel. You can check out my show notes. I have a link to that. But we'll be doing that this Saturday. Otherwise, I'll be back here next Tuesday looking at some more puzzles. Hopefully, I'll solve them at least quick enough to maybe do two. But it'll be cool. I cannot wait to look at these new characters as well. I'm sure they've all got some really cool combos. All right. Until then, you guys have a great week, and I will see you later. Good night.